faces here. This is absolutely, I'm totally gobsmacked. I didn't expect this. I didn't expect to do a panel. I don't know if you know that. Well, thank you. Thank you. Welcome. This is the first year of the Salt Lake City Comic-Con. It still has that new con smell to it, you know? A lot of sweat emanating from rubber suits. Seeing a lot of men who are wearing tights just because they can wear tights in public. No, it's a wonderful thing. I came here because I was invited by the folks who do the Tex Murphy games. You guys know Tex Murphy? And they've got the new game coming out, which is called the Tesla Effect. And they asked me to do a voice, and I thought, wow, it sounds fantastic. When I learned how popular Tex Murphy was and what kind of game it was, I thought, this sounds great. So I get to play a smart-ass PDA who talks back to Tex. And his name is Smart Alex. So think of him like Kit to Knight Rider. Yeah. And I hope you don't mind if I go by my notes, because, again, I found out yesterday, I looked at the schedule and say, hey, I've got a panel tomorrow at lunch. I said, okay, I'll do that. And these folks here were able to help me and get it set up, and it is phenomenal. I went to my first convention, I figured out, in 1992. I went to Dragon Con in Atlanta. It was all in one hotel. You guys, everybody been to Dragon Con? Yeah. You remember it was in one hotel, it was in the Hilton, and it was 36 floors. And they wouldn't let the guests use the freight elevator. So every time I wanted to go up to my room, which was on the 34th floor, I had to use the regular elevator, which, as you know, if you've been to one of these conventions, stops at every single floor on the way up and on the way down. So I couldn't forget anything, so I just carried everything I owned with me. But this con, what these folks have pulled together in a single year is phenomenal. I've never seen anything like it. And I don't know if it's the Utah effects. Maybe it is. But I would like to encourage you to, any volunteer you see today or later on, just shake their hand and thank them. Because they're all doing a phenomenal job of putting this together. It's just running so smoothly, at least for me, that I'm very happy with it. I don't know if you know, I went to college here at U. Way back. Running years, Buster McKinney was the star of the basketball team, and they weren't very good that year. And neither was the football team. But I had fun here. I actually came because I wanted to pretty much major in skiing. I did squander my undergraduate education, but I had a phenomenal time at Alta and Snowbird and Park West, where, at the time I went to school, weekday season student pass at Alta, $48. And also cars had spokes on the wheels at that time. I don't know, I've always enjoyed Utah. People talk about it's weird out here. Well, it's weird everywhere. It's weird in Minnesota. It's true that Salt Lake is the only place. I had a friend who came to school here. He was this big, bruising guy from Hawaii. His name was Johnny. He was Jewish. And he raised the best marijuana in the entire state. But he said to me one day, something had happened on campus, and he said, this is the only city in the world where you can be a Jew and a Gentile at the same time. But he was a good sport about it, and I thought that was nice of him. I'm going to check to see if we've got the sound. Jeff, if you're ready to try. I don't want to make you run. Here's the rundown. I'm going to talk a little bit about RiffTrax. I'm going to show our best of reel from last year, because we haven't made one for this year. And all of our ancillary and very cool things that we're doing with RiffTrax. And then I'm going to talk a little while about the puppet show. And then I'm going to get Mystery Science Theater. Questions, and I think that there will be folks with microphones in the aisles, and then I'm going to ask you to help me. I need some singers for a song. Yeah. And you have to sound bad, okay, and a little raucous, and I'll give you the lyrics, and it'll be very easy, and it's just going to be in the background of the song, and I'll tell you all about it. I'll give you the details later. Can I try this on it? All right, here, I'll just do an experiment here. Let's start with a commercial for Schaefer beer.
Lights!
You don't need lights for this, just audio. Selena Horn. Everybody hear that? How's that? All right. All right, here's the sound check. Now on to the show. Okay. We have you to thank for the fact that this is the 7th anniversary of RiffTrax. I never in my wildest dreams thought that Mystery Science Theater would be on the air for 10 years, and I never thought that after 25 years that I would still be talking back at movies, but here I am. Well, that was fun. I hope you don't mind if I stand. I've been sitting all day and my butt is asleep. And this just helps music go on. We have, first of all, how many folks made it to our live show of Starship Troopers? Thank you. It was a gas. We really connected with a whole lot of new people because we've been doing these shows in movie theaters where we beam our live show from Nashville, Tennessee, to 600 movie theaters nationwide, and it's ended up being a real success. And earlier in the year, we did our first Kickstarter, which was phenomenal. Also, thank you to all of you who backed us at Kickstarter. We tried to get Twilight. We tried like hell to get Twilight. We raised almost $250,000. We thought, if we bring $250,000 to these people, in order for us to be able to do this for one night, they're going to have to say yes. But their precious franchise was just too precious to them. So we went down the list, and we got Starship Troopers instead, which was pretty phenomenal. A lot of people liked it. And because we are, you folks probably know this, we try to be as family-friendly as possible when we do our shows, and make it PG-13. So we had to get creative, because there are 2 shots in the movie that have boobs and buttocks. Okay? There's a co-ed shower scene, and then there's this really quick lovemaking scene, which is really dumb. Okay? So what we did is, we needed a distraction, but we had to show some of the screen in order to keep our contractual obligation to Sony Pictures. So we had Kevin B. Hired a gorilla gram who came in and totally distracted all the cameras, and they just had a gorilla dancing there, and we solved the problem. So all of the folks who didn't want to see boobs and buttocks, who didn't mind the bloodshed and the guts and the people getting their heads caved in by laser blasts, but really didn't want to see boobs and buttocks, they were satisfied. Which was good. Which is weird, but that was good. So I was happy to do that. And now, if you haven't seen it, there's an encore presentation, maybe at your local theater. Go to RiffTrax.com, and it's on September 12th of the Starship Troopers show. And we're also doing a brand new live show, October 24th, Thursday, and we're going to make fun of Night of the Living Dead. And I know there are a lot of George Romero fans out there, and a lot of people who believe that Night of the Living Dead is a classic. And sure it is of sorts, and I want to guarantee you, we're not going to break the film. You'll still be able to see the film just as it is. We're just going to borrow it for a night, and pull its pants down and laugh at its private parts. And then you can have it back again. I was amazed. We got all this, we actually started baiting people who were angry at us for doing Starship Troopers. Because Starship Troopers is a brilliant piece of satire, is what I learned. And so there's this closed loop of people who have this kind of moon landing hoax thing going on in their heads, where they look for reasons why Paul Verhoeven made this into a brilliant piece of satire. So every scene was a brilliant piece of satire. So I went on Twitter and Tumblr and baited these people and tried to get them into conversations. And it was fun, too. Like, I got really angry. So I'm thinking I'll probably get a little bit of that from George Romero fans, and I will bait them just as much. For the Kickstarter, also, I had the rare privilege of, one of the rewards for backers was at $1,000 level, I wrote a song individually tailored to the person. It was really fun, and those are going to come out soon. But I've never done it, it was phenomenal, it was really kind of fun. I got details of a person's life, and got to write a song. And the first guy I talked to, I asked him about himself, tell me what you like, what you don't, and really he couldn't, I don't know, I'm not interested. I am sort of a technology geek, and I like wearing a kilt every now and again. So I wrote a song about how great it is to wear a kilt, and it's called Swing Away. And it'll be the first release of all these songs we did, but it was really fun to do, and it's got me back into music, so I'm starting to do a little bit more music, like we used to do on Mystery Science Theater, and so there'll be more riff tone songs out as we go along. For those who have asked us to do it, we are finally going to finish the Harry Potter series. Yeah, we're going to have to dive in. Those last two movies, they are grim bitches, those movies. Wow, I mean, they're dark, everybody dies, nobody ever laughs. At the end, you see tired old Harry and Hermione and their kids, and they're like, oh God, we're going to have to pay for these guys to go to Hogwarts. God, my Green account is almost closed. Got caught in a Ponzi scheme somewhere along the way. So that'll be fun for you. Not necessarily for me.
We can do it.
We can do it, yes, thank you. We'll need your encouragements. And yeah, this year is the 7th anniversary of RiffTrax, which is amazing to me. We've had, one of the things we've done is, thank you. I've been able to meet a phenomenal group of people. Back when we did Mystery Science Theater, we were sort of insulated in Minnesota, and we didn't go out and do much touring. So with RiffTrax, I've been able to go. We do shows at San Francisco Sketch Fest, and we do these live shows, and we've done guest appearances on Jonathan Colton's cruise, and I got to do a tour with John Hodgman, which was really fun. So I've met all these amazing folks along the way, and you know, at my late age, I started to learn things, which was pretty phenomenal, from some of these people who I've met. Paul F. Tompkins, you guys know, the comedian. He's the most genuine comedian I know, because he doesn't really tell jokes, he tells stories, but he tells them in such a funny way. And sort of what I learned from him is just to, you know, if you want to be funny, just talk about your life and think about how funny it is, and then just put it out to the people, and that's what you're going to get. Like I said, I went on the road with John Hodgman, who is also, he is the you know, like the nicest nerd you're ever going to meet in your life. And he knows he's a nerd, and he's fine with that, and so he makes fun of that part of his life. And he just says, you know, write what you love, own your weirdness, make that part of what you do. Adam Savage, who I think he should come out here. He goes to Dragon Con every year, but I think he'd love this. When he goes to conventions, he actually does a day of cosplay, and he has the greatest costumes you've ever seen. And he has a Wookiee costume. I mean, full on, you know, he's not that tall, he's like 5'10", 5'11". But he's got the foot-high platform shoes. And he can walk around on the convention floor and nobody bothers him at all. But he taught me, first of all, know where all your stuff is. He knows where all the stuff is at all times. I barely know where my zipper is. And also never pass on the opportunity to follow your curiosity. Something that you feel you want to know about, don't put it off, do it now, because you're going to die and you won't be able to do it then. So do it now, follow your curiosity, and that's how you build intelligence, that's how you build friendships, that's how you build a career, if you want a career and that sort of thing. I got to meet Neil Gaiman, who is really good. And it's something I knew, but it's something that I always have to be reminded of, and he says you cannot write unless you write. And it sounds sort of stupid, but you've got to keep writing, and something's finally going to come by, and you get the drops out of the way, and you find the gold nuggets in the bottom. The only way you can do that is to keep writing. Just keep writing, and it sounds hard, and it is hard, and it's work, and it takes a lot of practice, but this has been a great lesson for me, and because I sit with a film like Harry Potter for about 20 minutes of it takes me about 40 hours to write. So that's a lot of work, and it's hard, but it's rewarding because we end up with an end product that's really damn funny. And so those are the lessons I have learned here, and I think we're going to pause here for a moment for a commercial.
It was just one chance, yeah, and as comes near, when you're out of touch, you're out of here.
This is the 25th anniversary of when we first started the show in the studio of the lowest rated station in Minneapolis, KTMA, with no money, literally no money. We made the props out of stuff that we stole from the warehouse. Joel made the puppets, the first puppets, the night before our first episode. We were saying, Joel, you're going to have the puppets? And he's saying, oh yeah, they're great. And we just have to, you know, they're coming along, they're just fine. And then he admitted that he was up until 3 in the morning with a hot glue gun, putting these things together out of, you know, he was a great dumpster diver and he just found all of this stuff. And the rudiments of Crow, stand up Crow, will you? Thank you. What's your name again? What? What's your name again?
Skylar.
Skylar. Nobody cares about you. I'm kidding. Thank you for bringing Crow. But the rudiments of Crow were there, but then it was Trace who picked it up. And it was one of those magical times when we suddenly saw, because Trace is just this guy. There's a little insane part in the back of Trace. It's that imp of the perverse, and that's what drives him to be one of the funniest people I know. And he just saw this connection between him and the puppet as soon as he picked it up. And that voice came out almost immediately. This odd combination of a robot and Bugs Bunny. And then the rudiments were Servo were there and Gypsy, but it was all done the night before. So this was really, the whole thing was done at the last minute and on a shoestring when we finally got picked up by, at that time, Comedy Channel. We got our go-ahead, we rented a warehouse, and 6 weeks from an empty warehouse space to when we finished the first episode. That's a pretty phenomenal turnaround for that, because everybody was involved. We had the writers putting the set together. Mike went to the lumber store and picked up a really, really big load of the raw lumber. He'd never picked up lumber before, except maybe a baseball bat. We had, everyone was gluing and screwing wood to wood. For those weeks, and also we were writing the first 3 shows, and we got it all done, and then we were kicking out a show once a week, a 2-hour show once a week. And then we found out, okay, yeah, I think you don't have to work that hard. You don't have to do one a week. Why didn't you tell me that when you started the whole thing? I had the distinct privilege of being the only one in the whole group who was involved in every single episode from the time it started at KTMA until we called curtains on it after the last episode in season 10. And yeah, that was a gift. It's still a benefit. And through this, I met a lot of really cool people, and I went all gooey. You know how people go all gooey and start shaking when they see you, and it's really fun. Because I went all gooey on Ray Bradbury, and on Kurt Vonnegut, and on Matt Groening. I didn't go all gooey on Kim Cattrall because that would have been weird. But she kissed me on the mouth. Yeah, this is back when she was cute too. And you know, there's a lot of stories that have gone around, and we can get to some of those maybe when we do the Q&A. But the one story that I don't get to tell very often is the story about meeting Lou Wasserman. Now, Lou Wasserman, I don't know, this is back in the days when there was a studio system. And Lou Wasserman was a kind of a god at Universal, which is called MCA. And I really do believe that he could, with a phone call, have people killed. And everyone, all the way up the chain, was scared of him. You mentioned Lou Wasserman's name and he was scared. And we were struggling like hell to get Mystery Science Theater, the movie, going. And so we had all these meetings, and we had a really hard meeting where they told us we had this great idea for the movie. We were going to do a sort of an all-singing, all-dancing Mystery Science Theater with this great movie in between. Kim Cattrall was going to be in the movie. We were going to have Crow imagine a fantasy in which he was Steve McQueen in The Great Escape. And he was not going into Switzerland. He was going to his fantasy, which was Kim Cattrall in a Heidi costume on the other side of the barbed wire. So we pitched this to the studio, and they said, no. So we're dejected, and we're going back down the elevator. And go down one floor, in walks Lou Wasserman. Now Lou is about this tall, And he's got those, you ever seen those Hollywood glasses that are like 12 inches thick? And everyone around him is shaking all the time. They're holding paper and they're on their little phones. And Lou just looked at me, and I had the puppet. I had Tom Servo in my hand. And so I don't have him right now, but I'll demonstrate with this. So I'm holding Tom like this. And I decided, I'm going to go for it. So Lou's over here, he's way down here. And I didn't even look at him. And I turned to Servo and said, hey, how you doing? And he chuckled. It was great. I thought, yes, I got through to this guy. It was like getting through to Don Corleone. It was a wonderful moment. So, yeah, all that time, I don't regret one single moment that I had with that show, except maybe making the movie. That was hard. That was really weird and hard. Now there's a new edition of it out on Blu-ray. And thank you. It doesn't need to be on Blu-ray, but it looks really good. The fun thing was that a bunch of us, Joel and Trace and Jim and I and Jeff Maynard, the tool master, and Jeff Stonehouse, our cinematographer, got to be interviewed for a documentary that's on the disc. And so you can hear the whole bloody story of how the movie came out and how, even though people liked it, we hated making it. We were just exhausted and beaten at the end of it, and I'm glad we got to go back to the TV show. And it's a long sort of story, but it's still a fun movie. And the other thing that's on that disc that I think is really fun to watch is a deleted scene. There's a scene where the ship gets hit by a meteor shower, and they all go to the ship's storm cellar. And Servo has a collection of hash down there. And he also collected underpants, so he collected underpants and hash. And so that scene is in there, and it got cut out. Everyone agreed it was the best scene in the movie, the best post segment in the movie, and they cut it out. So it was like tearing out a little bit of our heart. But that story's in there. Also, one other quick one. The big alien in the movie This Island Earth? There's a story about how they changed the best line in the film when we call him Scrotor. So Scrotor comes out, the first time you see him, and Crow says, Bootsy Collins! And it killed when we did it live. And then these executives we had in the studio said, no, I've never heard of Bootsy Collins. You never heard of Bootsy Collins? You're from Los Angeles. You never go over to this town to get in. You're too white for your own good. So we had to get rid of it, and they changed. How about Leona Helmsley? Yeah, people are going to remember her. She was dead within 5 years, and nobody cares about Leona Helmsley. Bootsy Collins was better, wasn't it? Absolutely. So I hope you enjoyed that. And what do I have next? Go ahead. Oh yeah. Everybody, come on. So I think the best thing to do right now is to get set up for questions. If people have relevant and burning questions, if we've got a couple of wireless mics coming up here. Everybody enjoying the con? A lot of people go see Shatner? I don't know how to say this, but that makes me so happy. I've also had the pleasure of hanging out with Will Wheaton every now and he's really fun, and he has his stories about Shatner, and I'd only let him tell them because he can only tell them, but he never really says what he wants to say about Shatner except in the context of a story. So he never speaks, never speak ill of a person until they're either, that's the old Confucian proverb, never speak ill of a person until they're either dead or cremated. So and that's I think that's words to live by. Let's have a question.
I had a question. Big fan. I wanted to know how you guys went about filming it because we all have seen the silhouette of you guys going to sit down as if you're in a movie theater, and then we see your silhouette while we see the big screen going on. Did you guys literally sit there and then there's a green screen in front of you, or how
We
did that
literally
work out?
sat there. We had a styrofoam cutout of the movie seats. Trace and I were in those little, those rocker TV chairs they used to sell in the 90s. We were in those. We had our puppets next to us on little music stands. And then we looked, at that time it was a widescreen. We did what's called a luminance key because it was a lot easier to do and it worked with what we were doing. We went through this period early on where they said, no, we're not seeing the silhouette right. We're going to make the movie slightly green. And it looked terrible. All these movies made people sick when they saw them. And then, no, let's try a little blue. And that was making people nauseous as well. I said, well, you just let us do what we do best. We've been doing this show. We figured it out. We're the experts. And then they finally left us alone. One of the nice things about working in the Midwest is that nobody from Hollywood wanted to come out and see us. So the president of Comedy Central, the one who loved us, John Newton, came out twice. And when he did, he got the biggest four-wheel drive rental car they had. And he asked if they could put the chains on there in the airport. And he said, sir, it's not even snowing yet. So all right, next question.
Yeah, I was, you talked before about rewarding curiosity. So I was asking, between RiffTrax and MST3K, which rewards your curiosity more? And then, if someone gave you money to do an actual another show, would you do it?
That was a very provocative question. You get a bag of popcorn. Oh, thank you for the assist. Yeah, well, it's interesting because RiffTrax is more about the riffing. It's more about diving into the film and getting into that and having fun with that and getting maybe a little riskier with it. We had a universe to do with Mystery Science Theater, and as the song said, if you're wondering how he eats and breathes and all the science facts, history, think to yourself, it's just a show, I should really just relax. So we did that. We messed with our own rules, which was really fun, but we got to explore this weird little universe that we made and start populating new characters as we went along. So as far as satisfying curiosity and that sort of thing, Mystery Science Theater was really great for that. It was just, Martin Mull once described Hollywood as a college with money. That's what it was like for us. It wasn't as much money. It was more like graduate school because everyone was smart. But that was really fun. Working on the set there was so much fun. And the equivalent of that now is when we go into the studio to do RiffTrax, but even more so when we do it live from Nashville at the theater there and beam it across the country because it's like a high wire act. And I know people like to see it live because it's the same reason why people go to NASCAR. They think the wheels are going to come off, and they want to be there when they do. So far, the wheels have not come off. Okay, next question.
So with that concept of over in the corner,
Where are you?
We're on the other side.
the big guy in the corner. So I have a lot of friends who think they can MST3K, as the verb has now become. How much scripting have you done? How many times do you actually have to watch the movies for both, the old show and now for RiffTrax? And how much scripting do you tend to do?
Our show is entirely scripted. I mean, if we do any improvisation, it's right there at the moment, and it's very little. And it's when we genuinely find something funny at the moment, and that's where it goes. But now we used to do it like a traditional Hollywood comedy TV writing room. A bunch of people in the room. Bored to distraction, watching the stupid movie while one person types, and we take turns typing. And these days we divide it up among, there's 6 of us writers, and we divide it up among the 6 of us, and each just take a concentrated chunk of the movie. So like I said, I'm going to end up spending 40 hours and 20 minutes of Harry Potter next week. So that should be fun. So that's how we do it, and then we bring it together, and then we rewrite it, and then we rehearse it, and then we go into the studio and we riff it. And so we're really well prepared. I mean, the kind of thing we do, the best way to be funny, I found being a comedian is to be very well prepared. Either be really light on your feet or have everything down and know what you're doing. So that's what we've been doing, and it's been working for us. And nobody can really tell where one writer leaves off. Thank you, 15. Got the ring card lady in the back. Thank you, give her a hand. So, that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Very good. Next question?
Okay, so our
not Mary Stone. Our family celebrates Joe Don Baker's birthday like a bad Christmas, where we give each other cheesy gifts and stuff. We were wondering if that was just a rumor about he didn't like you guys making fun of his movies, or if that's actually the truth.
Well, it was hearsay, but someone who knows Joe Don Baker said that if he ever met us, he'd kick our ass. And at that time, you know, Joe Don was already sort of big. And it was, you know, like Paul, it was right at the Bond era, you know, where he was sort of dumpy. And so we figured that any one of us could have outrun him, so he'd never really kick our ass. And he'd probably trip over something, spill his cocktail, and fall into his arm candy. So we weren't really terribly worried about that. All right, yes, who's got the microphone? Hi.
Hi. Okay. Did you ever find out whether or not corn was grass?
No? Corn is grass. Come up here and get your popcorn. Because it's made from nature's grass. While she's getting her popcorn, we will take another question. Here, the debt goes to Abe Lincoln there. Why don't you just stand up and yell it out? That's you.
So there's something that's always amused and from my screen, a joke you guys make, well several, and the only episode that's coming to mind is the comic break, but you make a lot of jokes about Orrin Hatch.
We make a lot of jokes about Orrin Hatch.
Why?
Well, like I said, I'm from Utah. I mean, I'm not from Utah. I went to school in Utah. I'm not from Utah. But, you know, in the Midwest, we're in Minnesota. And, you know, Minnesota was a progressive state. And so Orrin Hatch was like the perennial person who said no. And just for the time, it was like, he was the John Boehner of his time. You know, he just seemed to say no because he liked saying no. So we picked on him because, you know, he's a big boy, he could take it, and it was fun to pick on him. All right, who's got the microphone?
Are there anything that you want to do but have not yet done that you want to make fun of?
Oh, man. There's a whole bunch of films that we haven't been able to do because, a lot of first-run films because nobody buys them. So there aren't that many DVDs and there aren't that many available on Netflix, which means we can go to all that effort to write a riff for it, but then nobody's going to buy the riff because they can't find the film. So that happens to a lot of current films. And the other ones, there's all these films that are stuck in the middle, 80s and 90s films, and things like, we did one live show in San Francisco where we made fun of Ben Affleck's version of Daredevil. We can't do that because if we do it just as an MP3, nobody knows, there's no copies of Daredevil out there to buy. And we can't get the license for it because it's too expensive, and we don't want to spend $150,000 buying the rights to Daredevil. It just doesn't make sense. So we're working on that. We're starting, like I said, we did the live show with Sony Pictures, and they liked what we did, so we're working on that a little bit. All right, who's got the microphone? Hi.
Hi, I'm a big fan.
Thank you. You get popcorn. Ask your question, please.
So, my question is, when you were doing Mystery Science Theater, is there anything that you miss from Mystery Science Theater that you don't really do in RiffTrax? Is there like any, just the atmosphere?
It's really, well, you know, of course we don't have the puppets anymore. And I don't have a puppet because I told myself a long ago, never bring the puppet home. It's a bad idea. What I missed really was being on the set. It was the most fun set to be on because we were all just having a great time. It was really goofy. You know, I'm a grown man, and I'm standing in a trench with a 10-pound piece of plastic over my head. You know, saying these brilliant jokes that the writers have done. So, you know, that's what I miss is the fun of actually making the thing. The making of the thing is where the reward comes in. You know, it gets out there, and you don't get audience feedback until it comes to something like this. So, thank you. Making the thing is the reward. I'll get your time for just a couple more questions, and then I'm going to ask you to help me with my song, if that's cool. All right, who's got the microphone?
Okay, I'm even a bigger fan.
Tony Soprano, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for doing us a great favor and bringing us humor into our home, and I think everybody here would tell you that we love you.
Thank you. most gratifying things that I found are people who come up to me and said, I had some problems in my life at this period. I really went through a hard patch, and being able to laugh was very important to me. And I felt that, and I wrote this book in 2001, A Year at the Movies. And thank you. But the story is, I was in the Roritonga in the South Pacific in September 11th. And I got off the plane, and my friend picked me up, and he said, you've got to see what's going on television. And I watched the whole thing from about as far from the States as I could be. And I was lonely, and I was miserable, and I had to see a movie that night. So the tiny little theater on this tiny little island was playing Waking Dead Divine. I'm sitting there laughing and crying at the same time. And it was wonderful. It's just wonderful to be able to do that. So I feel very close to people who go through that. One more question.
I realize that may be a conflict of interest, but off the record, Joel or Mike?
If I can borrow a line from my new friend Larry, the Soup Nazi. No popcorn for you! I love them both. They both have been my friends at different times in my life. I work with Mike now, so I get to be annoyed by him every day. And I only get annoyed by Joel infrequently, so it's not a big problem for me. How much time do I have, someone?
All day.
Not all day. We've got like 10? 5? 11? 11? Are you serious? No, you're lying. 5 minutes. Okay. Then I'm going to quickly do this song thing, if that's okay.
Yes.
My friend Joseph Scrimshaw. Do you guys know Joseph Scrimshaw? He should come here. He's doing a lot of conventions right now. He bills himself as a geek-flavored comic. And he's one of the funniest stand-up comics that I know, and he's out there right now, and I've done a few things with him. And he's doing a show about all the flaws in his life. He's calling it Flaw Fest. And he asked a bunch of us to write songs for him. So Paul and Storm are writing a song for him. The Double Clicks are writing a song for him. John Rogers is writing a song for him. Mike Furman is writing. It is at 10 minutes? Oh hell, I got time for another question now. Crying out loud. Anyway, who's got the mic? Oh, I gave the microphone away, didn't I? Okay, okay, who's really burning with a question? And a really good question. Well, you stood up, so. Why wouldn't the Japanese studios let us make fun of the Godzilla films? Is that what you're asking? Yeah. Oh, you know, we did a couple, but then we can't release them because they have this tight grip on the license for them. You know, that stuff it's like religion to those guys, you know? I don't get the Japanese, I don't pretend to. If anybody's Japanese here, I'm sorry, come see me afterwards and explain it to me because I really don't get you people. Not at all, and I'm sorry, I tried. Maybe I'm too white or too Western, but I don't know what the hell's going on over there. I mean, for crying out loud, almost within my lifetime, you attacked us! So, you know, I'm sorry, but you know, if you can tell me how it works, fine. So if you're Japanese, come up and see me. All right, one more, and then I'm going to go to the song. Oh, you jumped up down there, my man, yes. Oh, Adam West. Oh, you mean that we had fun with Zombie Nightmare? You know, actually, I'd love to meet him. I haven't met him. He actually hosted one of our Mystery Science Theater Turkey Days. And it was shot, oh, you do, I'm sure you do. And it was shot in New York, and we didn't have anything to do with it. They wrote the jokes, he said them. He was very funny. The jokes were terrible, but he made them funny. And I think that's Adam West's gift, is that he was able to work with terrible material and make it funny, which is hard. It's really hard to do, but I'm glad he was able to do it. And thank you for your question. And I do have, except for Jeff, I have one more bag of popcorn. And since you had the last question, you get the last bag of popcorn. I love that you're clapping for popcorn. All right.
We're just proud of him.
Bingo. All right. The song I'm doing for Joseph is one part in the show where he talks about his wife got sick and the doctor told her that she got to quit drinking. Of course, he was going to quit drinking in solidarity, but then he got very sad about it because he realized he really likes drinking. And he does this routine about, he talks about drinking being his friend. You know, it's someone who's been with him. He's tried not to abuse him because, you know, if you abuse drinking, drinking always wins. So I wrote a song that's about that feeling that you get when you have to give up something that you like. And in this case, it was drinking. And so it's a drinking song about quitting drinking. And it's called Goodbye, Mr. Alcohol. And this is the chorus to the song. And I'm going to play just a little guitar part. I'll sing it through one time, then I'm going to ask you to accompany me. If you don't sing, it doesn't matter. Don't be scared. I'm sorry I asked you to sing. Bye. Bye. If you don't want to sing, just shut up. That's easy enough. All right, so here's how the guitar part goes, and I will sing it the first time. And here we go. Raise a toast to the ghosts of the spirits that would cause us to stumble and fall. Then we'll fill up our glasses and drink down our last to our friend, Mr. Alcohol. Okay, got it? All right. I'm pressing record, and even if you didn't get it, just sing it, all right? Raise a toast to the ghosts of the spirits that would cause us to stumble and fall. And we'll fill up our glasses and drink down our last to our friend, Mr. Alcohol. I'm gonna cry. That was beautiful, and since I'm a producer, I'm going to ask you to do one more take. Right? And feel free to sway this time, to harmonize, to grab your friend, pretend you're sober. Someone afterwards, tell me where you're finding all these beers, because I'm going to want one after this. One more time with feeling. Here we go. Raise the toast to the ghosts of the spirits that would cause us to stumble and fall. And we'll fill up our glasses and drink down our last to our friend, Mr. Post on my Tumblr when that's going to come out, and I really appreciate it. And you'll be able to hear yourselves in the background on a no longer drinking song. And that's all the time I have. I am gratified and grateful and humbled by your presence. I love you all.